Fooled my cheating soon-to-be ex-wife into thinking I was cheating, then ghosted her. Update Part 1. There are two key events that happened over the course of the last 2 weeks that I want to highlight before the meeting with my soon-to-be ex-wife and her lawyer. Christmas Day was the first full day I spent in my new apartment. It's still a work in progress, as I have more stuff I want to get, but overall I've made it my home, since I'm going to be here for 2 years at least. My boys and the eldest girlfriend came over and spent a good portion of the day with me. The girlfriend brought over treats she'd made, and also whipped up a really nice meal. I got to sit and talk with my sons in a way I hadn't done in a really long time, and it was nice. My sister also came over with more goodies and hung out with us also. It had been the first time she'd seen her nephews in nearly a year. Having all of them around did me some real good. As if I were by myself, I think I would have just drank myself into a stupor. The next big development happened last week on December 29, 2020. Around midday I get a text from Nina asking if I was busy that night. I of course wasn't, so we agreed to meet up after I got off of work. She shows up and we go to a diner not far from where I work. Here in NYC we're doing indoor dining at 25% capacity thanks to COVID, but there's mostly no trouble getting seats because so many of us opt not to dine out as much these days regardless. So after we're seated and order our food, Nina pretty much lays all of her cards on the table. And honestly, I knew this was coming. She basically confessed that she's liked me all the way back since we were teenagers, but never got the chance to tell me since my soon-to-be ex-wife swooped in and scooped me up before she could. For context, I've known Nina longer than her by 2 years. Nina, our other friends and I were the social outcasts in high school, the half-weird nerdy kids who didn't fit into all of the other groups. Back then, Nina had a weight problem and was diabetic. She was the heavy-set goth chick who was super cool, but no guy would ever give a second glance at. But we always had chemistry. These days Nina is a personal trainer and yoga instructor. She was the ugly duckling who grew into one hell of a beautiful swan, if I must say. Long story short, we decided that upon the finalization of my divorce, we are going to start seeing each other. And yeah, I slept with her that night, took her back to my new place and we had great time. Am I ashamed of sleeping with her? Hell no. Nina's been a better friend to me than my soon-to-be ex ever was. That's not saying she wasn't my best friend, but through the near quarter of a century I've known Nina, she's always supported me. Even more when I learned about her willingly taking a step back from her own feelings to allow me to pursue and eventually start a life with someone else. That resonated with me on a level I didn't think it would. That kind of selflessness towards another person is the definition of real love. I know. It sounds like I'm just trying to justify in my head that sleeping with her was the right decision. To me it was, and I plan on exploring what's to come with Nina and I with total commitment. Okay, on to yesterday. The day I met my wife and her lawyer to discuss the divorce. It's now been 2 weeks since I ghosted my soon-to-be ex-wife. This past Monday I got a phone call from my lawyer that her attorney has scheduled a meeting for us to discuss the terms of divorce on January 6, 2021, which was yesterday. I met with him the Tuesday morning to discuss the terms I'm wanting. Long story short, uncontested divorce under the grounds of marital neglect for my soon-to-be ex. My terms are full division of assets, and me selling my half of the house ownership to her. She can have it. We keep our respective vehicles, I keep my cabin in the mountains, and under the pretenses of marital neglect, she gets no spousal support from me. As for my younger son, who's not 18 yet, he's free to choose who he wants to reside with following the divorce, which will most likely be me. So Wednesday comes and I show up to my lawyer's office dressed in my best. My wife and her lawyer. She looks like shit, barely holding it together. I give the stone face. I won't bore you with the lawyer babble, but her lawyer presented an offer for terms of reconciliation. I shot them down almost as soon as she finished listing the details of the request. Like I said, I'll spare you the details of the meeting. Long story short, we agreed to a legal separation leading to an uncontested divorce. The only revision is that I will pay her $653 a month of temporary spousal support to cover the cost of utilities until she's gainfully employed again. Yep. She got fired for this whole mess, up to a year after the finalization. I make enough that it won't hurt me financially even if she drags her feet finding a new job. And she's got enough in her savings to live off of for quite some time. Once a full calendar year has passed after the finalization date of the divorce has passed, she's on her own. Small price to pay for being rid of her cheating ass. It'll take roughly 3 months for things to go through. So early April 2022, if there's no more hurdles, I'll be free of her. So after the meeting, my lawyer gives me some final words before telling he'll be in touch to update me on the progress of the filing. Back out on the street, she chases me down and asks, can we talk? I figured I'd give her at least that. She held it together fairly well in the meeting, but outside let the waterworks flow, saying how sorry she was, and how she never meant it to go as far as it did.